Well, Sláinte, how do you do, buckaroos? How the heck are you? I'm going to be Tom the Whiskey Whisperer for this video, I guess, but I'm not really drinking any whiskey. I want to do a variation on a theme. I was looking at some stuff that I had. My daughter had bought me this book on Cuban cocktails. So I kind of wanted to do something. So I made a drink not long ago when I first got that book, The Pretty Princess, which is basically a variation on a Manhattan. So I want to take that idea, just maybe take it a step further. So it's a variation on that cocktail using, what did I do with it? Oh, I left it up there. By golly, hold on. I got to step off camera. Be right back. Right over there. Okay, so again, this is a variation on a theme using cocktail over here. So basically, the Pretty Princess is a variation of a Manhattan using rum in place of the rye or bourbon. So I've got the Appleton Estate rare cask aged a minimum of 12 years, single estate Jamaica rum. This one is at 90 proof. No, I'm sorry, it's a 8. Can't read that. Looks like 86 proof, my bad. Anyway, let me show you that bottle. So what I did different with this, I used that rum. I used 2 ounces of that rum, but then I also added 1 ounce of Laird's straight apple brandy or Applejack, if you will, and then a half ounce of sweet vermouth. And then I added just it calls for just Angostura bitters, but I wanted to make it more of a fall cocktail, so I added ginger bitters to the cocktail. Served straight up like you would a Manhattan, with the brandied cherries on the bottom there, as you can see. Damn, that is nice. I didn't want to use a lot of sweet vermouth, but I wanted to have a little bit in there to keep in line with, again, that variation on a theme, a variation of the Pretty Princess, which again is the variation on the Manhattan. But then I wanted to add that apple brandy to give it a little more dimension. I thought about changing the garnish or adding to it, and at the end I said, "No, I'm going to keep this one simple. I may make some other changes at a later time. Might add a cinnamon stick as we go closer to winter. Might do some other things with it, but I just wanted to make the one ingredient. I try to only make one ingredient change at a time. You slightly change this." I'm not a big rum drinker, so I'm trying to acquire a taste. I do prefer aged rums, I've noticed. This one is aged a minimum of 12 years. '86 proof. Yeah, I was having trouble reading that. It's very interesting. It's an interesting product. I'm trying to get used to rums, but there was a period of time where I was really buying a lot of aged rum, but I really am a bourbon drinker at heart, so it's always what I end up gravitating back towards. But I've also found myself drinking a lot of rye lately. I really like the spicy chewiness of rye whiskeys. That's why my bourbon, I do prefer, I'm kind of a rarity these days, I know. I do prefer classic or traditional bourbons that uses rye as a secondary as opposed to wheated bourbons. But to take that a step further, I really gravitate towards high rye bourbons. I really love high rye bourbons. Anything over 25% rye, I really like a lot. Anything over 30, I really, really like. And if you're going to be bold and get over 35, oh, you got my attention. You got my attention, man. You really got my attention. Anyways, as always, if you have any questions or comments, put it up on the screen. If you'd like to tell me what you're drinking this evening, by all means, do what you got to do. We can have a conversation. Decided to have one cocktail. I had one beer earlier, and it really just filled me up. I was struggling to get it down, to be honest with you. So I thought, well, let's have one cocktail and we'll call it an evening. It's an evening. We'll call it an evening. But yeah, my daughter got me this book on Cuban cocktails, so I've been trying to read through it. To be honest, not a lot of them are really jumping at me. I'm not a multi ingredients or a lot of ingredient kind of cocktail guy. I like my cocktails simple, like your classic Manhattan. So the ingredients I got here: the rum, the apple brandy, the bitters, rum, the apple brandy, the bitters, the sweet vermouth. I mean, that's as complicated as I want to get. And a lot of these drinks have, several different fruit juices. Some of them have multiple liqueurs, and that's just not me. That's just not anything I'm going to do. I like a spirit forward cocktail like a Manhattan, or in this case the Pretty Princess, where you're not trying to cover up the alcohol, you're adding to it, you're lifting it up, you're adding other ingredients to pull it forward rather than to put it in the background. That's why I'm not a fan of adding liqueurs and fruit juices, because I feel like then you're trying to hide the alcohol, and I want to taste the whiskey or the rum or whatever product I'm using. And I've noticed a lot of those Cuban cocktails really want to hide the alcohol rather than to bring it forward. That is nice, though. I do like. So I made this the other day, as per instructions, but this time I added the applejack, and I really like what that applejack or that apple brandy has done with this rum. Oh, that's a nice cocktail, man. Oh, that really is. So I've done a version of this cocktail again, a version of a Manhattan using a rye, and I've done it with bourbon as well, and then adding the applejack and such. But I haven't tried it with the rum, and I really like the way the apple brandy melds with the rum. They really complement each other nicely, and that I was curious about. Mm, it is nice. That is very nice, man. That's just tasty. I don't care who you are. That's really good, man. So I've got this served straight up, which means I've got it good and chilled, but I'm not leaving any ice in the glass. And I do prefer a straight up cocktail, especially this time of year. I'm not a big fan of ice in a glass. I've been really putting in a lot of versions of an old fashioned lately, but we get into the fall and winter. I really want that straight up cocktail. I don't want that ice in glass. A lot of folks want that ice though. They want to see that big cube in there. But for me, this is what I want to look at. I want a nice glass. I want that cocktail good and chilled. It helps to chill your glass beforehand as well. but I don't want to leave that extra ice in there. Ugh. Looking forward to a day off tomorrow. It's been a long week. Or last week was a long week, and now I'm looking forward to taking a little breather, man. Last week was very stressful, man. Didn't feel social on my days off last week. I just kind of hold up, but now I'm feeling okay. Let's get out. Got some new things happening this week. Trying to get out of my comfort zone a little bit and doing something a little bit different at the end of the week. I spent the better portion of my work life in retail and retail management over the but I've also done some food service work here and there. I kind of grew up in it. My dad owned a hot truck when I was a kid. They call them food trucks now, but it's kind of a different animal back then. But so I kind of grew up with it. So I've done various things in food service. I've been a deli manager and a deli bakery manager for various retail giants. And I spent 5 years as a food service coordinator for another outfit. And now my third act at 59, pushing 60, I became a bartender. I'm putting together and designing cocktails. I'm feeling pretty good about all that. I'm enjoying it. It's probably I did retail because it's what I got into at the time, and then I got pretty good at it, and then I got moved forward into management positions. And not being college educated, at some point you just said, well, this I guess I'm stuck here because I don't have, any other skills per se. But then I kind of lucked into some other things. I spent a couple years as account manager for Saddlebach Brewing in Springdale, Arkansas. So then I kind of learned I've always been a beer guy, but then that was my first job inside the industry. And then a little over a year and a half ago, I guess, I was able to get behind the bar with a brewery here in town. And it was just as a beer tender initially, but now I'm putting together cocktails for them, and that I'm really enjoying. It's probably the I probably enjoyed, as far as a profession goes, I probably enjoy doing this more than anything else that I've ever done. And part of that is probably because I'm doing it because I want to and not because I have to. I still have a family to support. My wife and I are kind of working together on that, but I'm in a position now where I can kind of choose. So I don't have to just like retail. I had to do that because I had a family to support. So I had to really do what was best and not necessarily what I wanted to do. And now I'm kind of doing what I wanted to do for the first time. And that's very enjoyable. I know most people don't become bartenders at 60. It is a little different, I must admit, but I really like it. I like the interaction. I like talking to the customers. But I really love formulating the cocktails. And most of what I do, in all honesty, isn't rocket science. Most of it is kind of a variation on a theme. I'm taking the template of an old fashioned, and I'm doing some different things with it. At home, I've been doing the template of a Manhattan and doing different things, but I haven't been able to transfer that to work yet. And that's what I would like to do moving forward, especially going into the late fall and early winter is start doing more straight up cocktails. I hope that kind of catches on because I personally prefer a straight up cocktail, and I think others might too. But a lot of it is about logistics as well. Oh, But sometimes we reinvent ourselves over the years. Like I said, this is kind of my third act career here. I'm not talking about number of careers. I'm talking about my age. My age, I feel like I'm in my third act here. That last profession before I get put out to pasture, and then it becomes the fourth act for how to survive. But sometimes timing is everything. I got very lucky getting the job that I have now. It was one of those timing is everything. I had worked. I got lucky when I got the Saddlebach job, but then had struggled getting back into the beer industry once I let that go. And then this one just sort of happened, and I'm just enjoying it more than anything I've ever enjoyed before. As far as like I said, a profession is concerned, I was just like the idea, like putting the cocktails together, but I like pouring the beer too. I love pouring beer. I love the fact that I'm pouring some of the best beer around. I mean, the product that they're putting out is incredible. So I feel good about that when I hand that to folks. I kind of experiment with cocktails at home, and when I feel like I got it perfected, then I'll take it to work and say, "Hey, see what you think of this." uh, and every once in a while, sometimes you hit a single, sometimes you strike out. Every once in a while, you hit a home run. I came up with a cocktail around Father's Day. I called it Cigar Batch. Well, it was named Cigar Batch Old Fashioned using tobacco bitters. And that one was just supposed to be a weekend thing and had been so popular, I've kept it around. Then I popped up one for the fall called my Pecan Pie Old Fashioned. But it's done well. I'm gonna let it run all through winter, or at least through December anyway. We may do something different come January. But I'm working on one now. Here's the problem is they like me to keep doing the old fashioned style cocktails is where I don't know if I've got the clientele to do a straight up cocktail as a regular, but I'm putting one together that I really want to put out as a straight up cocktail called a cherry cordial. In essence, it is an old fashioned if we're just looking at the ingredients, but I really would like to serve it straight up rather than keeping that cube in the middle. But I think the best way to debut that is to give folks the option if you'd rather have it straight up or on the rock, if you will. I just feel like a cocktail like that is elegant and really is when you serve it in a glass like this, or serve it in a nice coupe. It creates the mood, right? So, anyways, I digress. I am enjoying looking through that Cuban cocktail book. I'm gonna have to really I'm going to have to try to just make things my own. I've been trying to make them as what's in the book, but in all honesty, almost every cocktail I look at, I like this, but I don't like this ingredient. I like this, but I don't like this ingredient. So I'm going to have to just use it again, use some of those cocktails as a template to take it a different direction because I like the idea of using some rum, especially an aged rum, but I don't like a lot of the final directions that it goes. So for me anyway. So let me show you this one more time. The Appleton Estate rare casks. And then the big difference that I did was add 1 ounce of the layered straight apple brandy, and this stuff is really good. Half ounce of the good sweet vermouth, and again the drink called for just traditional Angostura bitters, and I do have some. I just don't tend to use them very often. I prefer to use different flavors, and in this case, I went with ginger bitters, to give it kind of that fall feel, especially with the apple brandy. I felt like the ginger bitters would really work, and it adds just that little bit of spice, that little bit of aromatics to the cocktail. So there you go. And I'm going to try to wrap this video up before it becomes Tuesday. Before wrap it up on Monday, will you, Tom? You got 3 minutes, man. Anyway, I digress. But I digress, man. Oh, I do like this though. I like the way it turned out. So this was a cocktail that I will probably keep trying to do various variations with. I didn't want to use that. Change the theme a little bit, yeah, but I like the idea, of the Manhattan, but using the rum in place. In this case, I also added the apple brandy. But I want to look at different ideas using the ingredients that you would use in a Manhattan, just using the rum as the main ingredient, and then adding one thing here and there to change it up just slightly. So, anyways, I digress. I am Tom. Well, I am the Whiskey Whisperer, but this isn't technically whiskey. So, we're just going to skip to the end. And say all around good guys. Sláinte. Thanks for tuning in.